Coming up on this lettered streets edition of Inside Bellingham, Tim Spens takes us out to Lake Whatcom for a compelling look at the source of our drinking water and our responsibility to protect it. Brian Flannelly shows us what our firefighters do when they're not fighting fires. We'll find out more about plans for a new library. And do you know where the oldest brick building in the state of Washington is located? Stay tuned. All this and a whirlwind tour of a lettered streets neighborhood right here on Inside Bellingham. Hi, and welcome to Inside Bellingham. I'm Doug Waldo, and this is the Lettered Streets neighborhood, the oldest neighborhood in town. The Lettered Streets is home to the lower falls on Whatcom Creek, where our fair city had its beginnings. It's also the hot spot for in-town salmon fishing and salmon watching every fall. Constructed for the most part in the late 1890s and early 1900s, the neighborhood was established as a middle-class community adjacent to the city's downtown district. The homes were of varied sizes and styles, and for the most part reflect the building trends of the early 1900s. The neighborhood is home to about 3,000 people and is bordered by Whatcom Creek and Roeder Avenue on the south, by Cornwall on the east, and Broadway on the west. Other buildings constructed during the same era of the early 1900s also contribute to the historic character of the neighborhood. The Great Northern Depot from 1927, the Roeder School from 1908, Unity Church from 1884, and the Territorial Courthouse, also known as the T.G. Richards and Company building. This is the George Pickett House. Of course, the name George Pickett will forever be associated with Pickett's charge of the Battle of Gettysburg during our American Civil War. The Pickett House is the oldest building in Bellingham and was built in 1856. Preservation of historic neighborhood buildings is very important to many neighborhoods in Bellingham. The goal of Tim Stewart, the city's planning director, is to give residents more say in the planning processes that affect their neighborhoods, allowing them to influence the future and to protect the unique characteristics of their neighborhood. These plans are receiving widespread acceptance by city residents. Nicole Oliver from the city's planning department has more.
Updating Bellingham's neighborhood plans is one of Mayor Tim Douglas's top 3 priorities for 2007. Bellingham is comprised of 23 neighborhoods, each with its own neighborhood plan and its own special set of rules and regulations that guides that plan. As Bellingham grows, the city wants to ensure that our existing neighborhoods are protected and that character is protected, and that we have rules that guide development to create livable communities at the edges of our city. Tim Stewart, the city's Planning and Community Development Director, will share his perspective on the city's program to empower the neighborhoods to assist in local planning efforts.
Bellingham is a vibrant, healthy community, and one of the reasons for its health is its strong tradition and history of neighborhood planning. Neighborhood planning provides the foundation, the policy foundation for land use decisions. This is really an exciting thing because it empowers the neighborhoods to identify the issues that are important to them, that will identify changes to our land use regulations that would better fit neighborhood character. For example, one of the proposals we have this year is from the Fairhaven neighbors, asking us to take a careful look at the height limits and how the issue of height in their neighborhood could affect the quality of life and neighborhood character. This is a really exciting opportunity for those neighbors to work and build consensus within their neighborhoods about how they can make land use work better, build community, and continue to make Bellingham a great place to live.
Right now in the Samish neighborhood.
Barry Buchanan, who is the president of the Lettered Streets Neighborhood Association, is going to share with us his proposal for how the Lettered Streets would like to amend their neighborhood plan to protect that historical character.
The Lettered Streets are currently the densest neighborhood in Bellingham, and we certainly want to do our share to maintain infill and create infill in Bellingham. We know that the pressures that the waterfront redevelopment are going to put on our neighborhood is going to result in higher densities down in Old Town, and we know it's going to result in higher densities around that redevelopment at the waterfront. So we felt it was critical that we preserve this type of neighborhood character with these wonderful turn-of-the-century homes. We also felt it was important to our neighbors, neighboring neighborhoods such as Columbia, Cornwall Park, Sunnyland, that we were responsible about how much traffic that we'd be putting on the roads as our neighborhood grew. And we felt that downzoning here in this section of the neighborhood would help stabilize that traffic situation, because we're going to get so much additional traffic down Holly and Roeder Streets that we just can't put pressure on all sides of our neighborhood in terms of traffic.
In a time when many people are worried about population growth, how Bellingham is going to change in the future, how development might happen in their neighborhood, the city is providing resources to help empower neighborhoods to be involved in those important decisions.
You can find out more about the neighborhood planning process and even read neighborhood planning documents by visiting the neighborhood planning website. Go to the city's website at www.cob.org and use the Quick Links index to find the neighborhoods pages. This relatively new building on Broadway is the Bellingham Fire Department headquarters. Now, obviously, our fire department is not constantly battling fires, knock on wood, or providing emergency medical aid. So, just what are they doing when they're not fighting fires and saving lives? Well, Brian Flannelly provides us with a look into the life of a firefighter between emergencies.
Did you ever wonder what a fire engine crew does during their 24-hour shift? What happens when we're not out on emergency calls? A large part of our day is spent training for both fire and medical emergencies. We also spend a lot of time keeping both our equipment and stations in top condition. Keeping ourselves in top condition also takes time. But one of the most important elements of our workday is our fire inspection program. All the businesses in Bellingham are required to be inspected at regular intervals. Our goal is to prevent fires from occurring rather than simply putting them out. These efforts are paying off as the number of commercial structure fires has been reduced each year. But the unexpected can happen, and a second benefit of the program is the time we spend becoming familiar with the layout of a business before an emergency occurs. Assuming, of course, that we can find a parking spot enough for both an engine and an ambulance. Today, we'll be showing you how we perform a fire inspection. Our first stop will be 1314 Harris Avenue. This structure served as our Fairhaven Fire Station from 1927 to 2001. It's easy to imagine an old engine rolling out of the station. Many businesses remodel their interiors over time, and we expect to see a few changes. The outside of the building still looks the same as it did in 1927. Let's see what changes have taken place since we left. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Brian. It's good seeing you.
Thanks for taking the time to help us with our fire inspection today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's good having you.
Yeah. We realize that you want to have as safe an environment as you can for both your employees and the public.
Yeah.
At the same time, we realize that every single business owner has a lot of different things that compete for their attention.
That's for sure, yeah.
We've got it easy. We have one focus in mind, and that's safety. So we're going to go through and look at a few things today and we may find a few things that help you out.
That's great. I appreciate
Okay,
it.
so can you tell me about your business in general?
Well, essentially, when we purchased Old Number 2 from the city back in 2002, we pitched the idea of creating a community-oriented performing arts space where a variety of different artistic disciplines could come and have access to Old Number 2.
Okay.
And we also included a little cafe so that the public could have access to kind of a nice segue between the arts, which is a little more of an expansive modality, and sitting down and having a cup of coffee and relaxing.
A lot of people could potentially have to get out of the building all at once.
We do. We have, I think, a maximum occupancy of 100, so we could have 100 people needing to get out of the building.
Okay, let's have a look at your exit doors.
Sounds good.
I'm very glad to see you have panic hardware on here. I can't tell you the number of tragedies that could have been averted by these things. When you have a lot of panicked people that are trying to get out in a short amount of time, if one person trips and falls, the results can be horrible. So here, if one person just bumps these just a little bit, everybody gets out. We like panic hardware. And you have amp exits for everyone to get out. This is well done. Actually, I used to drive a fire truck right out of these same doors.
No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then the second thing we look for are the exit lights. So each entrance and exit has to have lighting up above it. Most people go out the same way they come in. If for some reason that main exit is blocked, they need to have some alternate way. So that's why we require lights.
All right.
Okay. Next, we're going to have a look at how fires start. Now, this looks like a big improvement over the old kitchen when I was based out of here.
Yeah, it's a little different from what you guys had.
Very nice. So let's go behind the counter and look at your electrical systems.
Sounds good.
One of our big concerns is the improper use of electrical cords. A lot of times you'll have a plug-in over here, the device will be over here, and instead of having everything properly hardwired in, they've got this long extension cord. Well, they get overloaded, they melt, they arc, and then fires occur.
Sure, yeah.
And everything that I see is just all right into proper outlets. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. The second thing we look for is overall cleanliness. You'd be surprised the number of businesses that have cardboard piled up, loose paper, things like that. Just something that's just waiting for a spark to come in and ignite it. But again, you're good in through here. It all looks real, real good.
Super duper.
Okay,
Thanks.
let's go on. If you had material susceptible to spontaneous combustion, such as oily rags, they would have to be kept in a fireproof container. And if a fire does occur, we want to make sure that your fire extinguishers are all up to date.
Sure, that makes sense.
Keep in mind these extinguishers are only intended for a quick stop of small fires. If it's larger than a trash can, exit the building, leave the firefighting guys. Okay. So our two main concerns are early recognition and quick exit. By having working smoke detectors and good exits, we've covered both of those. You're perfect.
Brian, as long as we've got you here, have you got any other suggestions that you could recommend to keep us safe around this place?
Yes, actually I have two. First of all, you might consider putting a lockbox on the outside of your building. By placing a key inside the box, you allow us to gain quick emergency access to your business after hours. Otherwise, we would have to get in the old-fashioned way.
Oh.
Second, if you ever do another remodel of your business, we'd recommend putting in a fire sprinkler system. Well, Matt, everything looks good to me. If we can get a signature from you on this inspection form, then we'll be all done.
Absolutely, Brian. Thanks so much.
Is there anything else we can do for you while we're here?
Well, you know, we're short a couple people. I don't know if you could help us out.
Well, we are public servants.
Hey guys, wait, you forgot something.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I was starting to feel pretty comfortable with this.
Well, I was too. Well, I don't feel comfortable about this at all.
You can find out more about what firefighters do and how they do it by visiting the fire department website at www.cob.org/fire. This is Battersby Field on Girard Street. Not so very long ago, there was a big wooden grandstand right over there on the other side of the field. And this field was the location for the city's annual May Day celebration right up until the beginning of World War II. The lettered streets, like every other neighborhood in Bellingham, gets its drinking water from Lake Whatcom. City officials have made protecting Lake Whatcom one of their top priorities this year. Studies show a decline in the quality of the water in the lake, and it's our responsibility to try to reverse these trends. If we don't, we will leave our children and their children the burden of cleaning up the mess we leave behind. H2 Own It is a new series that we hope will inspire you to make simple changes to your daily life that could just improve the water quality of Lake Whatcom. Incidentally, I think you'll probably recognize the host of this timely segment.
Hi, I'm Kim Spens, and over the last couple years, you may have seen me on Channel 10 sharing some of the most beautiful areas in our city. But beauty is only a small part of what they have to offer, and the most important area is Lake Whatcom. Lake Whatcom is the source of our drinking water. If you live next to the lake, you may already understand that connection between what we do as homeowners and what happens in the lake. But everyone in Bellingham and Whatcom County can help maintain and improve it. Everywhere you go, you're in a watershed. What does that mean? Well, it means that when it rains, water is going to flow to the lowest possible point. And all the area around the low point, everything the water will flow over, under, and around, is the watershed. The lowest point is usually a stream, a river, or a lake. We haven't always understood the relationship between what we do and its effect on our water supply. We didn't know when we had lumber mills and coal mines around Lake Whatcom that what we were doing was going to affect our health. We didn't know when we turned area streams and rivers into open sewers, some of which emptied right into the lake, that we were harming ourselves. We didn't know as much about fish and wildlife habitat and what they need to be healthy. But over time, we've learned and we've changed. We've learned better ways of testing the health of the lake. We've learned how the lake works throughout the seasons. We've learned more about how our daily life affects the lake. And we've learned that there's not just one simple answer. Whatever we do, we need to do it as a community, and we need to do it everywhere, not just around the lake.
What can I do? I don't even live near the lake.
How can the lake be in trouble when we get a report every year telling us our drinking water is excellent?
So why can't we just get our water from somewhere else? Why are we allowed to drink water that others jet ski and boat on?
Why isn't the city doing more to protect the lake?
Maybe they should just stop all the building around the lake.
I heard Lake Whatcom is really deep and gets flushed out naturally. Why should we worry?
These questions aren't easy to answer, and the information is complex. There are a lot of misconceptions, questions, and assumptions that people have about the lake. So every month on this segment, we'll give you information that will help you understand your part, and we'll give you one simple thing that you can do to help keep our water healthy. The fact is, there's a lake that we love, and we live on it, and it gives us sustenance. Over the years, we've jeopardized our ability to rely on it, and there's no other lake to go to. So we need to own the responsibility of taking care of it. It's your water. It's your responsibility. Whether you live inside the watershed or outside it, whether you recreate on it or just drink it. There's no magic wand that will save it. There's just us. But the good news is, we get to write the story.
Stay tuned for the next segment on this series. Kim will tell us more about what we can do to protect Lake Whatcom. For more information, visit the city's website at www.cob.org/pw. This building is a kind of a celebrity, you might say. It's the oldest brick building in the entire state of Washington. In fact, back when we were known as a territory, this building on East Street served as the courthouse. The original first floor is now the basement ever since they raised the street up about 10 feet. The courthouse was built back in 1858, just 2 years after the picket house. It served for years as Acres Taxidermy. She's in pretty sad shape now, but there's a movement afoot to preserve it. Tony Nagel from the Whatcom Museum tells us more.
There's a great view that shows the front of the building when it still has the iron shutters at the first floor level that were placed on the building in case of what they thought might be Indian raids or just to protect the contents of the building. The common name, as we know, is the Whatcom County Territorial Courthouse, and its historic name is the T.J. Richards Building, and that's because T.J. Richards and Company built the building for a warehouse and store during the time of the Fraser River Gold Rush. When the rules changed and they had to purchase supplies up in Canada, then a lot of the buildings, the wood structure buildings that were built for the Fraser River Gold Rush, were taken up to Canada. The brick building stayed because of, you know, it is too hard to take apart a brick building and relocate it and put it back together. But one of the amazing things too about that brick building is the walls are 3 to 4 layers thick of brick. And that's probably one of the reasons that it has stayed up so long through various earthquakes over the years, is because of the volume of brick that were put into the construction of that building. There's a project right now with Janet Oakley and the Seaholm High School students where they are going to test some of the brick to determine the chemical makeup and what part of the country, you know, it came from.
Some say it is the oldest building north of San Francisco. There is newspaper reports from the Northern Lights saying the bricks have arrived along with building materials for the T.G. Richards building, which was going to be the storehouse. And the fact that they built a brick building when everybody else was doing wood is pretty remarkable.
I am definitely having a lot of fun. Partner Brian and I, we've done so much, I don't know, I've just learned so much about deciphering handwriting for one thing, and then the different cases, and we had to look into maritime law and admiralty courts and learn about all that sort of, you know, legal speak and then really ancient legalese, and I don't know, it's just expanded a lot of boundaries. I really enjoyed it.
Realizing that I'm holding a document from over 100 years ago, and that's amazing, 150 years ago, and that's an amazing thing. But of course, after so many days of doing it, eventually, you know, it's overwhelming with all the handwriting, the ciphering. It's more kind of like investigation.
So wait, is this the file? These are the file numbers. This is.
It's been going well. I almost have my citations done, and that means I'll be able to post my article pretty soon, which I'm really excited about. The handwriting I didn't run into nearly as big a problem with because the people I had pretty good handwriting, but there are a couple documents in there where the person needed to go back to grade school and practice the handwriting a little bit more because I couldn't read it at all.
But this is a wonderful resource to learn about life. Sometimes you don't look for it.
If you'd like more information about historic preservation in Bellingham, take a look at the Historic Preservation link on the planning website at www.cob.org/PCD. And if you'd like to find out more about the courthouse and the Whatcom Historical Society's plans to restore it, go to www.whatcomhistory.net. If you took a look up I Street from its intersection at Astor, this is what you might have seen back in 1901. The sidewalk gang. I guess if a guy didn't wear a hat back then, he was considered underdressed for work. You know, the folks who live in the Lettered Streets neighborhood are particularly lucky to live so close to Bellingham Central Library. And as plans get underway to design a new library, we thought we'd visit with the library's director, Pam Kiesner, to find out just why a new library building is important.
The building is 55 years old. Actually, it's a little older than 55 years. It was built in 1951 when we had a population of, 34,000 in this community. And we were only circulating a few thousand books out of the building. Now we circulate 1.2 million books or items out of this library on an annual basis. And so we're crowded, and the building being built in 1951 was not built at a time when we had internet computers, when we had all the electronic information resources that we have now. We had a study done of this facility, a structural study back in 2005. Not only do we not meet seismic codes with this building, but it is not built to hold another floor, so we can't build up on this building. So in order to add on to this building, we'd have to take up an awful lot of the green space in the back. This community really reveres the green space in the back, and so we're really careful to consider that when we are considering any of our future plans, that we have adequate green space and public plaza space for outdoor events. We have about 20% of our materials in the closed stacks. I believe that in a public library, all of our materials should be out available for the public. Not only is it important for the public to be able to see everything that we have available, but it's a staff savings as well. It seems like anytime anybody goes to another city, they bring back a file of information on new libraries they've visited. And there's just so many things that we could be offering in a new facility. A new library would have adequate space for the materials primarily. A new library would have space for populations like our young adults. We don't have a specific young adult area where they can come in and feel comfortable and talk with their friends and study and engage with one another. We would have a variety of spaces where groups could get together. Not only rooms, but just cozy, comfortable spaces where people can read, relax, talk with friends. We might partner with a coffee provider so that we would have a coffee shop in a new library so that folks can come in and sit and read and study while they have a bite to eat or drink. The library really has become the community's living room in an awful lot of these contemporary libraries that we've seen. And I like that concept, and I think Bellingham would really like that concept as well.
The public will have plenty of opportunity to participate in the library planning process. Keep tabs on it. Visit the library website at www.bellinghampubliclibrary.org. And BTV10 is now airing a program chock full of information about the library's plans to expand services. You can view the show at these times. The city is now accepting applications for its Small and Simple Project Fund. Up to $2,500 can be awarded to projects that benefit the entire city. If you're interested in finding out just what kind of projects might qualify and how to go about applying, you can find out plenty more on the city's website at www.cob.org. Please remember that it's the 23 very unique neighborhoods that make up our fair city, give it character, and enrich all our lives. And in the words of the late great American dancer Agnes DeMille, the truest expression of a people is in its dances and its music. From all of us at BTV10, including me, Doug Waldo, thanks for watching.